Well, I mean, given what we are now
Progressively,
being
yes.
very mean about other YouTubers, I guess that's kind of the fairly natural segue into being mean about another YouTuber. That was the other thing that happened yesterday, and has now been attempted at least to be memory hold. So this was like I am a pretty crap YouTuber, and you are free to clip that if you want. In that I spend almost no time actually on the platform, so I had never ever heard of, and I've actually now forgotten the name. Hello Future Me, that's the one. Never heard of this guy until yesterday. Who has, is it 1.1 million subscribers? I think it is. It's like a fairly big channel.
Yeah.
Not negligible.
I haven't checked if it's gone down since then, but yes, that was
that's
the number.
a good point. Actually, that would be interesting to have a look. I might even do that.
I don't
that
think
would
you
be
delete
interesting
the
to see.
video, anyways.
Well, no, we'll come to that. I'll do the I'll set up the groundwork. So yeah, yesterday then I was some group chat on Twitter. I can't remember. It might have been Hostman tagged me in a group chat, and Hostman was watching Random's response video to Hello Future Me, which is how I became aware of Hello Future Me, because I'd never actually heard of him before. So then I watched Random's response video, and then also that's how I found out that I was in this video as well, briefly as it was. And then I went and thought, I'll have a look at this. Since apparently, according to this fairly substantial YouTube channel, that we are part of what he terms the woke bros. And this takes up the final, almost, I think it was almost half, the final half, or at least final third of the video he was doing on Rings of Power. Where he says, like, all of the things that make Rings of Power disappointing from his point of view. But the final boss, in his own words, was the woke bros. The woke bros consist of people like Drinker, Gary from the Roddick, Random, myself, Disbelief. Who else was on that list? There's a few others as well.
Despot of Antrim, George the Giant Slayer, the Quartering,
Shad.
Shad, yes, specifically Night's Watch, but he names him as Shad. I think that's it. I might be missing one.
Yeah, there might be another one. And then they scrolled down. As was there, yeah. And then by implication, because he scrolled down a few thumbnails by way of analysis, and some other people made it in that section. So yeah, he's in this video, and so apparently we are the final boss of the internet, and that we are pretending to be objective media critics, but what we are really sinisterly doing is subtly, or not so subtly in some cases, shoveling in political messaging in the name of media criticism, which is designed to lead young men astray, which is something I can confirm that I do, but just not in that context. And then he then makes a lot of very spurious accusations, shall we say? Well, I mean, Random, you've done the response video to it already, and I was going to go and consider doing one myself, and then I thought, well, we can do it on BSUP. And then we found out that he deleted the last half of his video, so it's now gone from the internet. So we're actually responding to nothing that ever exists. I left him a nice little snarky comment. That's gone as well. So now it no longer happened. We're no longer the woke bros. I'm going to take it as an implicit apology, I think. But having done the response video, I mean, what was the most sort of standout fun thing about learning how evil, nasty, and bigoted you were?
The most fun thing that I found out, well, yeah, the most fun thing to, I think, come out of it is the staggering levels of, the staggering lack of self-awareness and the staggering amounts of hypocrisy. Because he seemed to hold two beliefs simultaneously. On the one hand, he believes that the woke bros, which, to be clear, he's referring to people who he believes are anti-woke activists, if that makes sense. I don't know why he called us woke bros. I have no idea, but to avoid confusion, I'm just going to use the words he used, which is woke bros.
Yes.
So he believes that the woke bros are pushing an agenda to varying degrees of, they're taking various efforts to hide it sometimes or sometimes not. And their intention is to convince young men. So, you would assume like sort of maybe teenagers or, people in their early 20s, and convince them of, various right-wing talking points. At the same time, what he did, and this I think was particularly evident because of the fact that he had included me, because my channel, I believe, is the smallest channel that he had included. And at the time when I released my Rings of Power videos, it was definitely the smallest channel that he included. And he misinterpreted / misrepresented my videos, Platoon's videos, Drinker's videos, and a whole bunch of others, because he, for some reason, believed that there was a hidden agenda in there.
What the fuck?
Yeah. He is guilty of exactly what he was accusing the woke bros of doing.
And quite astonishing, like in almost every way, like every single facet of the argument this guy was making is perfectly represented. You couldn't really wish for a better representation of the type of thing he's accusing us of doing than his video. That was the really really fun thing, because I started out like watching it thinking, because I'm actually only in it for a few seconds, disappointingly. That there's one, like, he clips half of a joke that I made about choreography, and this is to bolster the point that the woke bros generally are building this narrative that modern media hates men and is pushing women into the forefront. I can't imagine where he got that impression from. But yeah, he picks this one like little section and then moves on. So I was starting by thinking, well, the general rule of thumb, you don't speak for other people; they can defend themselves. So there's no point really, addressing or defending, say, Shad, because Shad's perfectly able to do that for himself. But the problem with the approach is that it's not that easily compartmentalized, because the entire narrative of the thing is basically saying that all of these people are part of the same category, pushing the same message. And specifically, the message is like anti-feminist, anti-LGBTQ agenda, pro-meninist, I think, sort of comes in there occasionally. And so all of the usual like breakdowns of what it takes to be a bigot, effectively. And because it's like this collective grouping, it is kind of collective guilt as well. So actually, it isn't the case that I can leave, say, Shad to defend himself or Drinker to defend himself, that they're both capable of doing that. Because by implication, both you and I and everyone else in the video, and sitting one of your thumbnails gets a nice little mention as well, is all guilty of pushing the exact same singular, consistent narrative. And that's the argument that he's making all the way through. And that's where it really falls down in two respects. It falls down in the first place because it's exactly what he's doing, which is just, I mean, it's so obvious if you see it. And there is a version archived, which I don't know what to do with yet. Maybe I'll try and play it maybe a bit of it later. But if you haven't seen it, then tough. So it's exactly what he's doing, but it's also absolutely not what any of the individual creators are doing. And that's when it sort of falls apart completely, because you can't simultaneously say, well, Shad is a conservative Mormon who is fearful of the LGBTQ agenda, whatever that happens to be. And therefore, he's in the same camp as the little platoon, who is famously not a straight person, and so hasn't really got much reason to fear the LGBTQ agenda. At the same time as the Drinker, who like complains about women, apparently, even though like the Drinker has a huge list of his favorite like characters in fiction, and most like loads of them are strong women. Like none of these people are actually part of the same agenda. And it kind of got me thinking that, I've streamed and been lucky enough to stream with a lot of the people he mentions. I don't think I could actually tell you what most of their actual political views are. I could make inferences, and I know what they're against. And Shad's probably one of the most open people about, the way that his beliefs change, like how he views certain bits of media, which I don't really have a problem with at all, as long as you're honest about it, which is Shad is, and I think Hello Future Me absolutely is not. So yeah, I'm so sad that he's taken it down, because it's such a good example of so many things to do wrong. It's like way to project, essentially.
So relating to Shad, like Shad is, again, he is not secretive about his beliefs, about the fact that he's a Mormon. And one of Hello Future Me's main points that he brings up multiple times is that the woke bros, which again includes me and Platoon for some reason, we're trying to hide our ideology, and we're trying to use media reviews as an excuse to get this information into, like, get these ideas into, impressionable young minds. Two examples straight up. So Shad does not hide what he says, which means that you're not watching a Shad video, at least on the Night's Watch channel, and being unaware of what his political beliefs are, because he doesn't hide it. He's not trying to trick anyone. And another example is one of the channels that is named, but I don't think he plays a clip from, is a channel called The Woke Critic. And I don't know who that channel is. I have no idea.
He's very funny.
Yeah,
okay,
it's really funny.
Super funny.
But given that he's called The Woke Critic, you can't then accuse him of trying to hide the fact that he's critical of wokeism. Like that doesn't work. That's the name of his channel, right?
Yeah.
Or is he using that name ironically?
No, he uses it sort of like he sort of does a satire. So he'll say, "Oh, the Rings of Power is great because Galadriel is so powerful and strong, and she's the best of the best." That type of that's what he does.
Okay.
So he'll give the Rings of Power 5 stars because it's woke, technically.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. That sounds funny. I might need to watch that.
It is really funny.
Dude. He's great, man. He's fantastic, dude. He's a friend.
Yeah,
He was
I
like one of
talked to
the
him.
earliest people that supported his my channel, and I was actually his second subscriber. And
nice.
we were just talking to each other in our comment sections, and then he blew up with Rings of Power. Dude, he's great. He's great. You should check out his videos. You'll laugh your ass off.
I talked to him through email, and he said that he said that all of his videos he writes late at night on weekends after he's been drinking for quite a while. They're fantastic. Yeah.
Another point, just quickly on the topic of Hello Future Me, is an example of an extreme lack of self-awareness. Is immediately, I don't know if we have I don't have a screenshot. I should have probably grabbed one. He uses this Trojan horse analogy where he literally says that the woke bros are using a Trojan horse of having their media reviews, and they're trying to sneak in the fact that feminists are destroying the world. Seemingly, though, he's unaware of the fact that his video essentially functions as a Trojan horse, because the first 2.5 hours of it is him being critical of Rings of Power. The final 90 minutes is basically him sneaking in a load of political stuff where he's attacking people that he thinks disagree with him. And if you go even deeper than that, there's a third level to the Trojan horse, is that he mentions a bunch of straight up political people that he does not mention when he lists the list of YouTubers. So he mentions by name Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, and Matt Walsh, and there were a couple of other names in there that I've never heard of, but he hides that in the last 10 minutes of his video, which means that he is making a comparison directly between what myself and Platoon do and what Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro do, for example. That's not the same thing in the slightest, and I have no idea how he arrived there.
No, and I couldn't really decide whether or not to be quite angry and annoyed about it, but I generally don't get offended by morons on the internet. So it was just slightly shocking that it was coming from a channel with 1.1 million subscribers, and who kept saying, these people, there's no one to fact check them. They're completely independent. So the implication being, I am doing the fact checking here. It's but everything you've said is a lie. Nothing you've said is true. People aren't fact checking you. That's the problem. And like you say, building what is an overtly political narrative. But what I think that this is one of the problems with that there is a certain type of person and a certain type of I think circle on the internet. Organized chaos sort of fits into this. I gather. I mean, I didn't know much of his content before this point, but it sounds, at least from this available evidence, that Hello Future Me sort of is part of this camp as well. Here I am putting people in camps. I must be a Nazi. But he's what they do is kind of positioning. It's all about how they stand in relation to the audience they've cultivated. That's sort of stereotypical audience capture type thing. The audience that they've captured is sort of locked in a bit of a purity spiral. So he's in this inconvenient position where he's saying, well, I thought, Rings of Power was objectively really bad, but I look around and everyone else who's saying it's really bad are the bad people, and I can't be seen to be one of them. So I must distance myself from them. So I'm going to devote almost half of my entire video critiquing Rings of Power to criticizing people who actually have raised almost every one of the points I've raised in this video. I believe earlier in the video, he makes this point about diegetic diversity in Rings of Power. I've got a whole mini essay in my video making the same point. It's you haven't found anything with which to disagree. You've just clipped half of a joke. That's not.
Yeah. That whole point is one of the, I think I counted, there are 3, possibly 4 moments, and I say moments because they are momentary, in my 14 odd hours of covering Rings of Power, that could be misconstrued as political commentary. And that whole idea of where to include the diversity and using it as part of an integral part of the world building, and the fact that they didn't do that is one of the points that I make that I guess you could potentially misconstrue. But that's one of 2 or 3 minutes out of 14 hours of content. So yeah, evidently I don't think I just don't think that he watched it.
No,
I don't think so either.
But which is massively dishonest. And again, for a channel of that size to go around making these points, to be fair, Drinker and Gary get most of the flack.
Yes,
actually, you get probably more flack than almost anybody else besides them, don't you? I think he. Well, and Shad as well. It's those are the big
Shad,
who get most of it.
Yeah, in terms of the amount of time that he dedicates, I mean, I can't measure. I guess now that we have the web archive, we probably could measure it. But proportionally, the size of my channel is not proportional to the amount of time that he spends on me in that video. But he does bring me up in relation to Barbie. He mentions that I covered Barbie and that therefore I'm, must be a bad person. I'm paraphrasing, but obviously. The bit that he conveniently missed out, because I'll be charitable here in as much as I can. He probably doesn't know about the existence of my second channel, but he mentions of course all these people covered Barbie and they all thought it was shit. And of course they all covered episode 3 of The Last of Us and they all thought it was shit.
I really liked that episode. What the fuck are you talking about?
Anyway. I thought it was the best episode of the season.
Yes, by some considerable distance.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Like it just as a pure 1 hour of TV, it was the best episode of the season. Like I have problems with it in terms of how it slots into a season of TV.
Yes.
But as an hour of storytelling, it's not flawless, but it's fantastic. It's really, really, really good. And he just, again, he accuses us of cherry picking. And then cherry picks. You really can't make it up. And I'm glad that when I recorded my response, I started taking notes, and then it got to a point where he said something about drinker. I can't remember exactly what it was. And I thought, right, screw this. I'm just going to turn on my mic and hit go. Because I'm not going to be able to accurately, capture my response to this by scripting it. And kind of glad that I did. That's I just remembered. Sorry, one of the other names that he mentions at the end of the video, or towards the end of the video, alongside Peterson and Shapiro, is Andrew Tate.
God, yes, that's the culminating argument, isn't it? Like we are all effectively pipelines to Andrew Tate.
We are the gateway drug. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna believe in that. Just random.
Funny. You're leading us out of the Matrix.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've actually said on one of these streams that I have no idea why so many young men are so besotted with a man who looks like a hard-boiled egg. Like, I'm pretty sure I've said that several times even. And this pipeline argument is so disingenuous. But it's the thing that people sort of treat themselves. And to be fair, like the people on both, it's the typical both sides thing. I'm not saying that both sides do it equally, but it is a tendency of people who are too far gone down a particular ideology. They always assume that what they are doing is standing for goodness and what their opponents are doing is politics. And that's a different thing. You do politics, I stand for what's right, which is very much the sort of the tone that I get coming from him, because if you actually treated all of the issues he brings up himself, and he spends more time talking about things like gender roles and the LGBTQ stuff than any of the critics I think that he mentions, maybe like the exception of FNT. So he spends more time talking about things which are objectively political issues. Where you stand on them is irrelevant. But because he believes they are in the right and they are tantamount to decency in our politics, he doesn't recognize it as being the same thing that his opponents are doing. Like he wants there to be gay elves in Middle Earth, and I look at him and I think, well, they are still casting maybe, so you could apply, but I don't imagine that you'll get in. All of that stuff, that is political, whether or not you agree with it. It's just, you can't do this irregular verb thing where you do politics and I don't. It's not that. You are doing politics as well. You just disagree with the perceived politics of people on the other side. You build a narrative out of all of these various people, cherry-picking examples to get to this one point that you've threaded through your entire analysis, which you call media criticism. And then you have the gall to accuse the people you criticize of doing that, when that is exactly the thing that you're doing. It's just, maddening.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. And like I think, as we've mentioned, like he has now re-edited the video. He's trimmed out that entire final section. So if you go on his channel now, it's just not there.
But there is the timestamp. The timestamp at the end of his video still says the final boss, the woke bros, but it's just his. I think it's his Patreon or something that's just rolling by.
Yeah. So yeah, the fact that he's removed it, like I think that, like if I was him, I probably would have done the same thing. I think that's the only move that he could have made, given how badly he screwed up. The things he can do from this point on is he can upload an edited version of the final 90 minutes as like a separate video, but trim out the bits where he's being disingenuous, which will probably mean it's down to about maybe half an hour.
Well, that's generous, isn't it? I was going to say about 10 minutes at most.
Yeah, or at the very least, remove the name drops, remove the specific references to channels that blatantly don't do what he's talking about, and just name people who actually do what he's talking about. That is one thing that he can do. What he couldn't do, though, is keep the video up and apologize, because if he apologizes and he's like, right, I shouldn't have included these 3 or 4 channels, sorry, that was a mistake, then he is publicly undermining the point that he was making in his video. And of course, he's not going to do that. He may as well delete the video if he's going to do that.
Which is itself disingenuous, because that's, again, evidence of audience capture. You know, he's very, very concerned with how his audience will react to that sort of content. The honest thing, honestly, the preferred course of action I would recommend is take that part of the video down, edit it into something which is comprehensible, try and support the claims that you've made using more than cherry-picked arguments and like 10 seconds of a clip from a 2-hour video or half of a joke from a 3-hour video. Try and actually substantiate the allegations you're making rather than just making them as though they're facts. Put that video up as its own longer thing, and then maybe we can have a discussion. Because I was chatting to Mauler on Discord about this like a little bit earlier, and Mauler actually escaped the list, and so did EFAP, which is like, I'm sure really disappointing, because EFAP is basically just like the citadel of bigots to these people. Like, everyone's been on there talking Rings of Power. We've all been mean, evil, right-wing Nazis on that stream.
That was how I discovered you, Platoon. It was when you were on EFAP talking about Rings of Power.
Rings of Power, there we go. And we said some unspeakably horrible things about all of the minorities, because, you know, famously, that's what we always do. There's plenty of evidence. Like, we've all done really long videos, we've all done really long streams. You would think that there would be plenty of evidence to substantiate these points. So go and find it. Go, you know, find something that someone said on EFAP. Try and make the point that what is being done is disingenuous politicking, because that's the second part, and well, the predetermining part of the claim is that it's not just that the politics exist in the video, is that they are being disingenuously inserted into the video to trick people, i.e. the accusation is bad faith and dishonesty as well as politicking. He doesn't substantiate any of those things, and I would really like to see him try. And there are plenty of people, they keep popping up. Organized Chaos is another example. There is a subgenre of film YouTube which is pretty much exclusively dedicated to trying to bring down what I guess we'd nebulously call our corner of YouTube film criticism. Plenty of people in our corner of YouTube criticism, we've done hours and hours of content. You would think there would be plenty of material. So go and find it. And it's just that whenever they try, it seems, like Organized Chaos scrolling through one of Mauler's videos trying to find if he was mean about the lesbians. And it turns out he wasn't. Like,
didn't he do that on a live stream?
He did, I think. It was live at the time, yes. Very embarrassing. But then everything about that guy is embarrassing. So
yeah. Yeah, what was that noise he makes again?
Honestly, the best way to combat them, I think, is just ignore them and try to make better content than them. Like, if you want to be better than them, or like,
I think we already do that.
Yeah,
we're saying they should do that.
Yeah, they need to do that. Like, step up your game, make good content, make people look at you make people look at you more than they look at like your opponent. Just be better than them and ignore them. It's like the best way to do that.
Yeah, so I definitely would have preferred to ignore them or ignore Hello Future Me in this instance, because I completely agree with what you just said. The reason why I felt like I had to respond is because I figured people who watch Drinker, people who watch Nerdrotic, these are channels with 1 or 2 million subs. They hear what Hello Future Me says, and they're going to just know that it's false on the face of it, and they're going to laugh at him. My channel is a fraction of the size of those channels. So I thought I essentially need to clear my name here, because this guy is just straight up misrepresenting what I think and misrepresenting what my channel actually is to his 1.1 million subscribers. I don't care for YouTube beef. I don't really pay attention to it whenever it happens. And to be honest, like I highly doubt that I will like make any other kind of video referencing what happened. Which is also why I put the response that I did put up on my second channel. Because I don't really care about YouTube beef, but at the same time, a channel that size, telling lies about a channel my size, I basically felt like I had to say something.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with you, man. I think that at that point you're really, really forced to say something, because it just affects you in general, and it affects people that might have enjoyed your content, which, by the way, is fucking fantastic, dude. And
thank you.
So it's like, yeah, I don't know. To me, what's baffling is the fact that someone can be so disingenuous and just be okay with it. Now it seems as if he's not really okay with it since he took down that portion. But still, the fact that he's not really acknowledging the things like that, and I guess Platoon, he removed your comment or something.
No, it doesn't seem to be there anymore. I have had a look. Other people have also had a look. It does seem to have disappeared somehow.
Well, you screenshotted it, right? So it's fine.
Oh yeah, it's on Twitter for all to see. Yeah, and we've got the archive version of the actual thing, obviously, as well. But like,
beautiful.
I think that the fact that it comes, I've got the timestamp for it. I think just to sort of give a sense of the scale. Like, he's got 2 hours and 18 minutes of actual Rings of Power criticism in this video. I've not watched all of it. I've watched bits and pieces of that criticism, and some of it's genuinely good media criticism. Credit to him for doing that. And as I say, I think I've made some of the same points, and you've made some of the same points, Random, as he has, and I think Cynic, you've probably made some of the same points as well. Everyone who've covered Rings of Power has made some of the points because he's picking out things that are very easy to call out as being very bad about Rings of Power. It's when you seemingly at least establish your authority as a genuine, sincere media critic like that over 2 hours, and then you spend the remaining, it is almost another 2 hours 18 to 3 hours 59. That's when it goes into the final boss of, the woke bros thing. You've established your authority, seemingly, and then you use that, having established your credentials as a media critic, to use those credentials essentially against other people doing effectively the same thing you're doing, just because you don't like what you perceive them to have said in other areas. And that is ultimately disingenuous, and that is exactly what he's talking about sneaking narratives into media criticism like that. Like some of us, I think, like you said, you've put a couple of bits that could be construed as politics into a Rings of Power critique. I make jokes about fucking everyone. So there will be jokes about everyone. There's a Biden joke and a Trump joke, I think, in the first Rings of Power videos, because I like being balanced and I hate them all equally. But there's also bits about, the very obvious stuff about the angry young white guy who's, berating the black elf for, being an imperialist. And there's the take our job stuff, which is like, that is quite overt, I would say, political messaging in Rings of Power. This idea that only media critics who are on the right, or what Hello Future Me perceives of as being the right, are doing politics, and that this is not an accusation you can make against writers of major productions, is just for the birds. We all know that these things do get snuck in. If you're going to put politics in the thing, I will criticize the politics in your thing, has always been my approach to those things. But like, the general rule is it well written or not? You can have things I politically disagree with that I think are incredibly well written and enjoyable. I think V for Vendetta is a really good film, and I think its politics are toxic, but I really enjoy the film. If I were reviewing that, I would tell you what I thought about both of those things, and I would not be lying about them. But to say, yes, the only people I disagree with are doing politics and nobody else is, and that it's beyond even the suggestion that writers are putting these things into their productions, so you can't comment on politics in productions, is just fanciful. The guy should know better, and apparently does. Well, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. He's deleted it, so who the fuck knows?
Do you guys know any reason as to why he would have deleted it? Because, like, did he delete it after? Well, yeah, did he delete it after he got pushed back or before?
So, I have no idea to what degree. I'm going to guess that the video that I put up is minimally, I don't know, I'm speculating, honestly. The reason why I want to say that it's minimally responsible is because the video is on my second channel that has less than 2,000 subscribers. It had less than 1,000 subscribers when I put the video up, and the video currently has 14,000 views. That is peanuts compared with his video that has nearly, 200,000 views, I think. Yeah. However, after I did upload that video, I did just check his comments, like after I woke up the following morning, and there was a notable increase in people being like, what the fuck are you doing? So he may have seen that, and one of two things happened. I guess he either decides, yeah, this is too much heat for me, I'm going to pretend that I didn't say what I said, or hopefully there's going to be some acknowledgement of wrongdoing. But until he actually says something, then who knows? Like, I'm not expecting that he will apologize. I don't really care if he does, to be honest. But at the very least, the content is not on his channel anymore.
Yeah, so it's only the few 100,000 people who've seen it already that come away with the impression that we're all right-wing Nazis and bigots. So, damage is minimal. Yeah, no, I had to quickly through the comments myself. Like, I left one saying, like, yeah, hello, I'm Mr. Gay Liberal Atheist who quite likes women, actually, and thinks diversity is a good thing. Really happy to see that, you've educated me that my video arguing for more and better diversity means I hate diversity. So there's that. And there's quite a few comments sort of along the same lines. Your name was mentioned a lot by people saying, I don't know why you've put like random film guy in there. I don't know why. Is it just some guy was in there as well? Don't know why you put him there.
Yes.
Don't know why you put Platoon in there. Then you get, of course, people coming in and defending drinkers' takes and things like that. There was quite a lot of pushback from that.
I have the plug-in so I can see the dislikes, and I compared it to his other videos, and the dislikes are like it's like 11,000 positive to like 1.6 thousand negative, and that like his last video, it has 750,000 views and only 537 dislikes. Like, he talks to his audience, so clearly he was getting pushed. Yeah, like it just speaks to the comments, and clearly like the dislike ratio, he was starting to get a lot of pushback, so he just wanted that gone and just completely got rid of it. I'm surprised he didn't expect any. He clearly didn't expect any pushback.
I mean, again,
it would have been contained to like his audience, you know.
Yeah.
Giving his people what they want. That's what he thought that it would do.
Well, it's like I think he probably just expected it to just be stuck in his little echo chamber. Like, look at these guys, aren't they so terrible? And then the people that you're calling terrible finds it, and they're like, oh God, what do we do?
That's like me saying Godzilla versus Kong sucked and not expecting the comments to be
yeah, that's like you deleting your video after like 3 hours of being up.
Yeah, like I didn't expect that to happen. Come on now.
But yeah, in terms of whether or not he expected or like foresaw that this kind of thing was going to happen, remember that he hid this section of his video 2.5 hours into a video entitled I can't remember what it is. Rings of Power. It's not Rings of Power. Rings of Power is a disappointment. And here's why. Someone who doesn't watch his channel has no reason to assume from that title that there's going to be anything else in there. Something Trojan horse. Yeah.
That's also weird to me, because like if you're gonna like I guess not attack, but like attempt to critique a section of the internet that you disagree with, I would assume that you would like make that the main target, like for your audience, and you know, like market the video as that instead of like hiding it in another video, especially when it's like a good portion of the video itself that you're making it within.
And to be completely fair, maybe he will now do that. Maybe he will re-upload the 90-minute segment as a different video, but you've got to think he will, having now seen the backlash. It's the same, going back to Rebel Moon, it's the same as like Zack Snyder having seen the backlash. Is he going to change things? you got to think probably.
Yeah, he's probably going to give you guys the director's cut where he just does all of this, releases it as a separate video, and that's what he does. And it's like, I don't know, it's such a weird thing, especially coming from a big channel too, that doesn't seem to have a history of doing something like that. It's just really out of left field. I don't know.
Yeah, and I was kind of surprised when I saw the size of the channel, because like I watch a lot of like guys that talk movies on YouTube, and I had never heard of him. And this guy's the same size as YMS in terms of his sub count. It was just insane to me. Like I just had to kind of like, I know I'd never heard of Hello Future Me, but like I had to imagine like, what if YMS had said this? I would be like, well, in disbelief, which I mean, I guess I am, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's such a weird situation, especially from the part of what's his name again? Hello Future Me. Yeah. Like you, I had never heard of this before. Even when Platoon, I saw your tweet when I woke up this morning. I was so confused because I was thinking, what the fuck is Hello Future Me? I thought that you were literally talking to your future self or something.
Yeah, I was so confused. I was just like, I don't understand what he's yapping about. I'm just going to read this YouTube comment.
Same. But yeah, I don't know. It's I think it's disgusting. It's disingenuous. It's just nasty. And yeah, man, that's even me, I'm speechless about it. To think that someone can do that, especially to you know, smaller channels like you, Random. I just think that's stupid too. It's just proof that he never watched any of your videos. He just skimmed, looked at the thumbnails, and called it a day. That was it. And probably just went through your videos, really skimmed them, because I doubt that he sat down and watched Platoon. I doubt he sat down and watched both yours and Random's videos, which to a combined would probably take 2 years of your lifespan to make this video. So yeah, it's just pure stupidity.
Yeah, I was tempted to parody. I don't even know how you would parody it. I was thinking like maybe when I eventually get around to doing Rings of Power Part 3, I could make it like a 3.5 hour long video, and I get through all of it, and it's completely straight media criticism. And then right at the end, it's And by the way, the Jews control Hollywood.
Oh, like, no, make it even more like Trojan horse like, and make it like 5 seconds after you like outro the video, and then you just say, and you just say all of that, and then the video cuts. And then anyone who has it on like a second monitor playing is gonna be like, wait, what? Huh?
It's great. But you get the audience you cultivate there. There was one guy who commented under my comment and saying, I've just scrolled through your channel and I can see that he was right about you. But yeah, I can tell that you've subbed to a channel which thinks that like scrolling past thumbnails counts as criticism. Yes, this makes perfect sense to me.
I just think it's funny because it happened to me back last year during like Ahsoka when that was coming out. Some guy on Twitter like screenshotted my thumbnail, was like, this guy is toxic, what is this guy doing? I was like, number one, I think my thumbnails are funny. And number two, watch my video please, because in his I think in his Twitter post, it was something along the lines of like, be open for conversation, don't just be a dick online. And then I started commenting on all of his posts regarding me, and he's actively avoiding me. Like, he's not replying to any of them, even though like I'm getting like more likes than him, and he's obviously getting notified that I'm commenting on him, and he's ignoring me. And then he finally got fed up and he was like, I'm not going to talk to you. And I was like, well, what's your point about having a conversation then? It's just funny. These people aren't serious. Like, they aren't real. I don't believe they're real.
Have you guys like tried to like directly contact the guy through Twitter or something?
No, I haven't anyway.
I haven't, and I don't intend to. Because again, I'm not looking for an apology. Like, I don't. The damage has been done, and to some degree, again, the fact that he has removed that part of the video means that at the very least, the content is not on YouTube anymore. So it's like, you know, he can say, yeah, sorry about that, but that doesn't really change anything. So no. I have no intention of contacting him.
No, I'm just not that interested. I'd be happy to have him on the stream if you ever wanted to come on. I'd like to have a conversation with him. I think it could be interesting. It's just that it does tend to be the people who advertise their openness to conversation are the people least likely to have one, because then it might dispel some preconceptions that they and their audience have about people. It never tends to end well, because if they come in thinking that you're this evil like devil, and then they realize that you're not, then they've just spent hours of their time hating a fiction, basically, which is why they very rarely will accept invitations to conversation like that. That being said, invitation is open. If you ever sees this and wants to chat, more than happy to have that conversation. It might, come with the prerequisite of a small apology first, but nevertheless, be open.
Platoon, I just want to highlight a comment from chat. Larry says, hit on him to prove to him you're gay.
Oh, that would be very funny. I'll just camp it up the entire time.
Just reply to, no, from here on out, I want you to like turn notifications on for his channel, and then just comment every time and just say, hey, cutie. Just torment him.
Oh, that would be very funny. But like by contrast, I've streamed with most of the people he mentions, and but like for all their vociferous and forthright in their views, and I'm sure we'd find plenty to disagree on if we actually did talk as much politics as he seems to think we do. People like Drinker, Mortar, Gary, and Shad, they're really nice people, and they've always been very open and welcoming, and I've always had a great time streaming with them. And I imagine like Shad would have moral and ethical disagreements with me, just as I would have mean things to say about Mormonism, because it's Mormonism. Who doesn't have mean things to say about it? But it's like, you can have these conversations quite nicely and openly and politely if you don't think the person you're opposite from is actual Satan, which a lot of people have convinced themselves that anyone to the right of Lenin is. So yeah, they're all nice people from where I sit.
Yeah, I mean, of those, the only one that I've spoken to is Mauler, and yeah, he's great. He's extremely friendly, and I mean, he might, if he is the devil, he's doing a very good job of hiding it. I will say that.
But that's what the devil would do, isn't it? That's yeah, that is the devil.
That's true.
The devil is a trickster. EFAP is the satanic horde, confirmed.